I'm trying to do something cool, so bear with me for a second. I'll see if I get there. And then I'll eat something because I just came home. So the beginning will be a little bit slow, but we'll get there. We'll build a RAG system, and just to show you how cool this RAG system is going to be, I'm going to put it as my background. As my background. There we go. All right. Tonight we're going to be. This is kind of like the first scheduled stream. So we'll see if I keep it up, but I'm pretty sure I will keep it up every Tuesday, every Thursday at 8 p.m. From 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. We'll be coding things that are a little bit more planned and a little bit more educational, let's say. And on Saturdays from I think 9 a.m. to whenever, I'll just be something more freeform, something I'm working on, something I might be struggling with. Not that I'm not going to be struggling with things today, but that's kind of the idea, is to stream during the week with something a little bit more didactic, and then on the weekend just like freeform and go for it. That doesn't mean that Tuesday and Thursdays are going to be all that on rails. So in the meantime, like I'm gonna go just like grab something to eat, and I'll be right back. So I'll leave you with this. Hope I get my scenes right this time, because last time I was muted on my beautiful frontal scene. So as you can see, there's not my super well prepared, super intro kind of thing because I went running and I had to grab something to eat after that. All these fun things. But so today we'll be building a rack system for what I call my cursor rules, but it's actually little fragments of text that I use to quickly put things into my clipboard, which is a technique that I use quite a bit when programming before Cursor, and that I'm using more and more again since I used ChatGPT o3 on the web to do a lot of my coding now. So I have all these like little text files or shell scripts because most of them are dynamic and they will like look for function definitions. They will like assemble things, connect to live database. So you can think of them as like little MCP functions, right? And so I do want to have a RAG system so that I can expose a single tool to the LLM because I don't want to have a 15 MCP tools lying around that will allow me to retrieve exactly the documentation for the thing I want to do. And in order to do that, I need some kind of MCP system. So if I show you what this looks like right now, is I do have this tool called Prompto, which is you can configure a list of repositories. So you can do Prompto config repositories, and then you can get the list of repositories here, right? Pretty cool. Each of these are Git repositories in this case, but they could be any folder. And when you add a repository to the list of Prompto repositories, what it does is it will look into a folder called Prompto, which in this case doesn't exist. Hold on. Skeleton has no Promptos. Oh, well. Then let's go into Glazed, which has Promptos. There's a directory called Prompto, and every file under that directory will be read by Prompto, so the tool. They're called Promptos, which is very confusing, but you can think of them as like cursor rules, basically. And so there's cursor rules for example, on how to create a command. So that's the create command tutorial, which is a markdown file in this case. And in fact, it's one that I do want to remove. So to show you what that looks like, so this one, I actually have, I do have a actually inbuilt command to actually print out that documentation. I don't remember how to use my help tool. So there is a command in here that's called using commands, I think. And this one is what used to be the content of that file, right? So it's a markdown file that gives you a pretty precise description of how to do a certain thing. And in this case, since I deleted it, we're going to create a new one, create command tutorial, or maybe just like using commands, right? And then if we edit this file and we make it a shell script, and then we just call Glaze to print out our help. So this is kind of a dynamic cursor rule in this case. In this case, it just like calls the binary to print out its help, but that means that every time I install a new version of Glaze, it will have an updated documentation here. And so what I can do is if I do prompto get glazed using commands, it will search for this script and actually fail, which is great. That's exactly what I wanted to show. So we do have glazed using commands, and then I know what it is. It's because this actually prints it out to std error. And so we do want to redirect that. So that was the issue. And if I do this, boom, I got my help right here in Prompto. And so the concept of what I want to build tonight is I want to go over all of these Promptos and basically index them into a RAG so that I can do Prompto instead of having just to put in the real name of all these things, right? Like to be very precise with these names. Because if I do this, then obviously that doesn't work. Right? Nothing comes out. I do want to be able to do something like, how do I build glazed commands, right? And have it come up with something that matches. So the first thing I'm going to do, though, is because I do need to eat, so I'm going to let the computer do a little bit of fun stuff here. This morning, what did I add this morning, actually? I built some charm bracelet stuff this morning. What did I do? I think I did that in my agent repo. And yeah, I had it build a whole command T terminal UI to see events that get streamed over Redis. So I got pretty far just like prompting Amcode. And what I'm going to do for Amcode now is I wanted to have something like my MCP editing UI. However, just to edit the repos in Prompto. So the way I'm going to do this, and it's a little bit annoying because Amcode, which I've been using a lot, Amcode doesn't do very well with multi-folder workspaces. So I am in a Prompto folder, and what I'm going to do is just link the GoGo agent into, hold on, let me do a third-party repo folder, and then I'm going to link the GoGo agent repo in here, just so that if I start Amcode in the Prompto repo, it will have access to that thing. So we're going to start cursor. Cursor 050, I realized that you have to turn on early access. And sadly, I don't have like this nice dashboard here. Like I really want to have like some leaderboard stats, but oh well. We're going to open the repo for Prompto. And so if you want to follow along, I will link the GitHub repository. So the GitHub repository for Prompto is github.com/gogogolems/Prompto. And here you can follow along. It's a ridiculously simple program. I did engineer it a little bit more, but it used to be ridiculously simple, and it still kind of is. If you look at what Prompto does, is it will iterate over all the files that it finds, and if it's an executable, it will execute the executable. If it's a template command, something I don't really use, it will execute it. And if it's a plain file, it was just like print a plain file. That's literally what it is. The first version of it, which served me for like a year and a half, was like 100 lines. And I prompted it with like GPT 3.4 maybe, or 3.5. So what we're going to do, however, is we're going to have, so that you can kind of be entertained while I eat, we're going to use Amcode, right? And we added the third party here with GoGo Agent. And what we're going to do, actually, it's not Go Agent that I wanted, it's GoGo MCP. So let's fix that. We're going to go into third party. We're going to remove GoGo Agent, and we're going to link GoGo MCP. And the reason I link GoGo MCP is because a lot of work has already been done in GoGo MCP to have a nice UI, which I also like kind of got done pretty quickly with Amcode. Like it is surprisingly good at doing charm bracelet stuff. It's the only thing that it gets confused by when doing charm bracelet is like properly forwarding or not forwarding keyboard strokes. So I'm pretty sure this will happen here as well. But what we can point this to is we can point Amcode to the existing MCP terminal UI. And then we can say like, oh, build like a similar UI to configure the repositories of Prompto, right? So we do have here in the Prompto command, we have a config. We have edit probably, right? Edit prompt name. No, edit a prompt in your blah, blah, blah. Config, which, serve, commands. Oh, I guess it uses the Clay. Clay is another framework of mine which we're actually going to link, and then maybe we'll turn this into a package that allows you to edit any kind of Clay repository. So it's in Clay, right? And what we're going to do in Clay is there is the repository command, and there's the command repository here, which adds all these like edit, find, whatever functionality. What I'm doing here, so the concept here, right? The concept that I'm following is like, I know I have programs that do something that's very similar to what I want to do, which is a nice editor for adding and removing repositories. And so I'm going to look for all of these to kind of point the model towards like, look, there's something very similar here. There's something that's however I want to interface with. So in this case, the repositories commands are similar to editing cursor profiles. And here's a terminal UI that's useful because it is a list with like editing and forms. And then here's this program called Prompto that uses a repository list, like now mix them all together to make a nice repository editor. And now that we have that, I'm pretty sure I'm first going to create like just the agent MD for this repo, which I could really just like copy paste from all my other Go programs, but just to show you. So Amcode is a standalone agent by Sourcegraph. It's very opinionated. Like you can't choose the model, you can't see the price, you can't see the size of the context window, but that's about it. The nice thing is that you can see your threads and you can easily share them with people on your team, which I find really, really nice. Like that way I can share kind of my prompting knowledge. And here you can see the different inputs that I did, right? So most of my conversations are like two, three messages deep. I don't think I have some that are like super long. Usually when things go well, here you can see the chat that I used this morning. Usually when things go well, I'm like done after 2. Like I try to do like kind of one-shot stuff pretty well. And then stories that don't really go well is like those that are this long, is usually I undo them. So when you see, usually when I have more than 2 or 3, it's a bad sign. Right? Oh, this is the one I was just showing. Like this one here looks really bad. Yeah, this didn't go well at all. So now that we have gathered all this context, right, we have our agent.md file, which I'm going to complement with a little bit more Go knowledge, which is kind of, remove redundant instructions. Also, I ran out of requests in Cursor, so I'm paying through the nose for all of this, but whatever. All right. I guess that's it, if you say so. We're going to start a new conversation. And so this new conversation is, I want to build a TUI similar in style to, actually, I want to build a TUI for Command Prompto, similar in style to third-party Go MCP package TUI. I think that's what it's called, right? Package TUI? No. Come on. Third party. Maybe I do need to open the files. Third party TUI.form.go, model.go. Oh yeah. So this is in third party GoGo MCP package UI/TUI that edits the repositories backed by Clay C command. So here again, Clay command repository. It's going to be third party Clay package command repository, right? And I think that's going to be all I say. It has everything it needs. It has the fact that I do want to do this in Command Prompto, similar in style to third-party GoGo MCP package UI TUI, so it's able to list the files there, that edits the repositories for this. And I'm not specifying like what the UI should look like. I don't want it to confuse it too much. It has enough resources to kind of look up how to do things. and we'll just see what happens. And while it's going, I'm going to be eating some fries. So there we go. And maybe I should have shown my editor. So uh, here's the prompt. I want to build a TUI for command prompt or similar in style to third-party GoGo MCP, and this kind of indicates all the different packages here. So I made a funny tweet that like vibe coding is mostly vibe waiting, which is just not entirely. Well, actually, it's really not wrong. And what I tend to do is I'll think of all these like little menial features that I always wanted to have. Like I want to have a terminal UI to do X, Y, Z, but also it's not something that's super important, and it's not something I want to devote very much of my effort to, and also it's not something that's very hard to check, right? And so I try to have a list now that I have AMP code especially, of these like little nice to have things that I always wanted to do, but like never really found the time, and that never were like really important enough to kind of get done. So for example, today I did add like the Cohere API and like the re-rank API to my repo, and I built this like little terminal UI to edit cursor. So I think of all these like little things that I always wanted to do, and then I have a space where I just have a cursor with AMP code open, and I just like have it just do them, and that way it doesn't really matter if it works or not. It doesn't really matter if it's like too much time, and I don't need to like constantly check on it, and I'll let just them run. So that's what I'm going to do. Continue eating a little bit. That is such a weird typo to make, to call it like Bordet style and not border style. That is, I wonder where that comes from. But we saw it struggle a little bit, right? And like I'm pretty sure that the keyboard stuff, the keyboard mapping is like not all that great. So we'll test that out, we'll fix it, and then I'm gonna try something out, which is now that it did all this work and it kind of knows what it struggled with, ask it to write a document so that in the future I will have something that we're going to index with RAG that will allow it to, if it runs into a bug, search its database of bug reports and kind of find a way to fix it. So in a way, it's like inspired by the Voyager paper, where you have an agent playing Minecraft, and when they learn to do something and write code for something, they store it in a library of code snippets. So if it learns how to fight zombies by saying like use the sword and whatever, it will store that as fight zombies as a function called fight zombies, which makes it much easier when the next time it finds a zombie to like do the right thing, because it will find the fight zombie tool. And this is like a little bit similar. And I've also seen like Carpathy and like the DSpy people talk about it on X, right? It's like, what does it take for a model to be able to achieve something? It's like it's the gradient's kind of like a manual, right? Like if the model doesn't need to do something, you want to teach it how to do something and push it into that direction. It's like, well, you give it like a how-to. So that's something we're going to do. But like, let's first try just like running this, because we have no idea what it's going to look like, right? And so this is not the worst start, to be honest. It doesn't fully clear the alt terminal, so I'm not fully sure what it does here. So the first thing to do is like get rid of this thing here, which would be, I think that's the alt terminal style. And then yeah, we can clear it like this. So I'm not sure what this is supposed to be here. And I wonder if, so things we might want to do, when I press enter here, I see the items and I can go back. So that's already not bad. And that part is, that's the std out terminal down here. The other thing that we might want to do is add a form for adding and removing, then also an X to have a confirmation dialog, right? So I'm going to write down all these ideas here. So want to do things. So we're going to reject this, right? We're just going to press stop. So the first thing we're going to do is add alt terminal, so we don't see the normal std out output of the logging. Is that possible? I think it works in GoGo MCP. We want to have a, instead of showing the path twice, show the number of items found in a repository. Pressing X deletes an entry showing a confirmation dialog, and then pressing A allows adding a directory using the bubble T file dialog. And so the bubble T file dialog, right? Like that's something I have here actually. It's the file picker. I have a prompto for it, which really just gives me the file path, right? But we can potentially like have it in here potentially, right? So in fact, what I'm going to do with the file picker is I wonder if it's actually able to access localhost, because it does have a page accessor. So let me show you one function, one feature of Prompto, which is that I can run it as a web interface, right? And we're going to build upon that. So I can go here to the Bubbles file picker Prompto. If I call it up, I get exactly that, right? So that would be a URL that I can paste here. See this here, right? And then I think that's maybe a good list of features to give it here as a follow up. Oh, I think Outscreen it is. Outscreen terminal. And yeah, let's see. Let's see what happens. And you can tell this is something I would let run in the background. And obviously, I might not come back to it for 2 hours. And of course, it's going to be stuck. But because it's a feature that I don't really care about all that much, it's something that I'll just, I'll just come back to later on. So yeah, I'm kind of curious what this will all do. But it's not the easiest thing to do, right? It's like this thing doesn't really have a web search tool, so I can't expect it to look up information online. So I kind of have to give it like some starting points. And it's definitely it's definitely it has like some subtle behavior stuff, and also I can't just like feed it back into itself because it is a terminal UI. You need to interact with it, and if I were to just like stream it in, it's a lot of token because it redraws everything all the time. So even though you might not see it in a terminal, it's actually like a lot of escape code output and stuff like that that you can't just like feed naively back into it. I do sometimes though, like just either take a screenshot or just like copy paste the current view and put it back. That works. That works pretty well, to be honest. And I need to write some like prompting guide, like a how-to, which is what prompters are for, on how to build these like terminal UI list editors that I use all the time, right? Because here it's going to struggle with exactly with these tools. I'm sure that when we have an add directory form, it will actually gobble up the keyboard for X and for A. I can bet my hand on it because it has done that every time. This is interesting. It went back to 0 tokens. That's kind of a bug. We'll see. I've never seen that before. So I'll let this run. I continue eating a little bit more, and then we're vibing, aren't we? And then we'll get to embeddings proper, or to like RAG proper. I thought this was like something nice to do while I'm eating. I do wonder if this maybe stopped running. Is my guess. Um, I'm just going to relaunch it, and like this is weird. Maybe I have infinite context window now. It's just like never ends. I've just like reached AGI. And so the thing that I think is important, right? It's like it's something I keep like bringing up, say on Twitter, is that I think vibe coding is really, in the sense, it's like generating code without really looking too closely. Is really a new modality of creating software, right? Like the way we have things like rubber ducking, you would like not necessarily think of rubber ducking as like programming, but actually it's a really important part that has been recognized as a technique that you can use to build software, right? It's like if you're stuck or if you want to discuss something, you can use basically talk to yourself in a mirror or talk to a little duck. It works for many people, right? The same way like pair programming is like a different style of programming that we've come to accept as a core part of something that works well. Maybe not for everybody. It's like not something that is the only thing we should do. Like some people are like, you should always pair program, but like I don't think that's very necessary. But I think vibe coding is something like that, where you kind of ask the computer to do something for you, and then you see where it takes you, right? And what is interesting about it is that I think it's very hard for a lot of software engineers to accept that that is like a valid way of interacting with the computer and also to write software, because we care so much about like programs being right and having them built like the way we want, and architecture here, and like like library and coding style there. And if you give up that control, it feels like you're not in control of your software, which in a way is true, right? But I think that's like putting a little bit too much onus on like our capabilities of programmers anyways. Like if we do it by hand, we think we're in control, but like more often than not, we're like also just like not very consistent. But where am I going with this? Is I think there's a lot of software that doesn't need to be very worked out in detail, right? Like obviously you have things like security and whatever, but a lot of things, once you have a solid API, there's like no reason to worry about your security, right? If you know like this endpoint is only accessed behind this, and it can only do like a read-only connection to the database, then yeah, sure, like maybe it will be slow and maybe it'll have performance issues if I'm not careful. But also it's built the way that even if I fuck up, it won't do things. Like this is just like standard engineering practice. And however, the thing, vibe coding works the best, and I think that's why many software developers think it's stupid and so many like non-software developers think it's the shit, is that the more you focus on your intent and the less you focus on the code, the more you like take your hands off, the more it has a chance of creating something of value. And what I mean by that is like if it fulfills your intent, it actually doesn't matter how it's built. Like you built what you wanted, right? Like maybe this thing has like a border and I didn't want a border, like who cares? Like it works. Or maybe I wanted a border and it doesn't have a border. That doesn't matter. I can still edit my repositories. So in a bigger context, maybe if I want to have like consistent branding and stuff like that, like things become significantly harder, because those things are actually hard for LLMs depending on how you structure your architecture and all of that. But if you focus on what the software needs to do versus how it does it, you are going to be much more successful vibe coding, I think. And obviously, if you don't know the underpinnings, it could very well be that something happens where you're like, my dear, like that was wrong, which a novice programmer might not catch and a senior programmer might catch. But however, as a senior programmer, often we're so focused on how something is done and like what we learned over time, and that you shouldn't be doing it like this, or you should use generics, and like maybe there's this function you should use and not like the old deprecated one. That will completely derail us in the same way, where we're like, yeah, but like that doesn't matter. What matters is the intent. And if you really care about like using an iterator inside the thing that shows you the list, then like that's something you need to learn, that it actually doesn't matter all that much, right? And that it's okay to let go if it's like in a part like why do you care, right? It's like you haven't looked at the code. You will never need to look at it again, because if you want to modify it, you're just going to throw your model at it. And if you start modifying it just because it doesn't fit with your aesthetic sense, which I get, right? Like I'm someone who really likes very, very consistent code and code style. You're actually going to create problems because the model didn't want to do it that way. So if you start like modifying things that the model wanted to do that way, you're just going to start asking for trouble, and it will like try to undo it, or it will like confuse things. So often it's good to just like completely let go and let the model do as much as possible, and then develop this like senior insight into how can I steer the model to be more effective without me steering it, if that makes sense. And we'll actually see, like here, we'll see there's trouble here. The first thing is like, it's probably going to start to create like a humongous file, right? So like 800 lines of code, not the best thing, I think. It is pretty consistent in its style, just because Go is really good, because Go is, the APIs don't change very much. It's like you have to format a certain way, otherwise you won't compile. So I think that helps a lot, and maybe that's why I'm so effective at programming with LLMs, is that I just like happen to do it in Go. To be honest, like at my day job, I do Ruby, and I'm pretty good at like getting really far with Ruby, but I really can't let my hands off the wheel. Here I can like let my hands go pretty far, and you can see like we're not even at that many tokens, right? We're like 60,000 tokens. We've gone through 2 iterations with something pretty solid. I have a sense that I asked a little bit too much with the file picker, and I could already see as it was streaming by that it did a boo-boo with the keyboard shortcuts, right? So if you look at the keyboard shortcuts here, you do have one single key map with pretty much everything in here. It has like the confirm delete, it has the delete itself, it has the backspace, it has like all of these things that it will probably gobble up. And also, why does it need to confirm delete at the same level than like add directory? No one knows. And that's something I've seen before, but it did, for example, do an enum for the different pages, right? And so one thing we could do, I think what it doesn't know how to do is how to switch key maps. So anyway, let's see what it looks like, right? And also this like alt screen mode, this will hide normal logging output. Configured to use a custom zero log logger that writes to stdr. And well, let's see if it still does that, huh? So I'm not sure if this is, the weird thing is that it doesn't do that with MCP, I think, with my MCP UI that I created this morning, or like yesterday or whatever. Because if I do go MCP UI, I think it does logging. No, it doesn't do any logging. So that's interesting. And I think the thing I did this morning, go agent, that one I know logs to the standard output. Like I'm pretty sure that it does that, and it didn't mess with the screen, right? Like this didn't mess with the screen, and then here they are. So I really wonder how it does that, and we're actually gonna have a look. We're gonna ask it to like compare it, right? So that's like one of my standard techniques is just like just have it look at something that works and then figure it out for yourself. Figure it out for itself. So here in third party, we're going to link the agent code, go agent here, and then we're going to say the alt screen thing doesn't work. And actually what I'm going to do, at least it compiles, so I'm just going to commit. So I'm going to start a new branch, task, add repository editor TUI. We're going to add the command, we're going to add the PKG, we're going to add the go mod and the go sum and the agent and the VS code. The VS code we'll do later on. So here I'm going to do sparkles because it's a new feature, and poop because it doesn't work. Add a TUI for editing Prompto repositories, because Mcode doesn't have a revert like we have in Cursor. It kind of has. It has this here, but it cannot like revert to a certain point in the conversation the same way you can in Cursor. So what you can see here is that indeed it doesn't want to commit because the file's not properly formatted, and then I do have like a bunch of lints that don't work, but the lints will handle at the end. And that's something I've seen with Mcode is really not good at doing small file edits. Sorry, I need to ban people on Twitch. It's really not good at doing small edits, so the lints I'll fix in Cursor by hand. So that way I'm going to disable my commit hooks and just commit like this. And we're going to go back to the editor here, and we're going to say the alt string doesn't seem to work still. Look at TUI viewer, which is not here. So TUI viewer, which is not visible. So this is like the weird indexing of VS Code and Co. I'm not fully sure when it starts to find files and when it doesn't. But we're going to ask it to basically look in here in main, how it does the starting of main, and see if it figures out how to do the initialization. Look at TUI viewer main.go to see if you can figure out how it configures its logging and alt screen. So that was one, right? And it annoys me because I kind of want to not see that. So while this is running though, we're still gonna run this thing, right? Hopefully we'll get in before it breaks it. Go run command prompt to TUI, and then we're gonna do log file temp tui.log. So at least we won't have we still do. But this is okay. This is okay, right? Like I asked it to say like, oh, there's 2 prompts in here. I can look at the help, which tells me like, oh, there's an edit and there's like a refresh, which is interesting and kind of messes things up. So the refresh doesn't work. We're going to write this down. So where are we? We are an agent, and then we're going to do a little new folder here. 2025-05. What's the date today? 13. And then we're going to make a little new file 01todo.md. So this one seems a little bit too complicated. Refresh doesn't work. Do we even need it? Is the other one. Then we do have this like log display is interfering with the UI. And what else do we have? So if we do, man, this is jank as fuck. And that, I don't know if it's like because of the logging at the bottom, which could be, right? Because it has forgotten its size. Or what happens if I press edit? Nothing happens if I press edit. And then if I press select, it will show the things. So that's pretty cool. And it will like print him. So choosing a prompt should close the TUI and print it, or show it in a scroll view or something. Actually, show it in a scroll view is a good idea. What I'm doing here, all of these little ideas, right? There are things I might want to fix today, but there are also these like nice little things that I might do if I'm working on another project and I'll say like, yeah, well, I've got these like 5 little tasks to do in this other repo. Let's just do them. And then from time to time, maybe while the other one has an Mcode running, I'll come back and like look at this like menial little thing, which probably if it doesn't work, then I'll just like put it aside. But it's good to have like a list of things to do, because the better and better these AIs get, these agents get, it's more and more going to be about what you want to build, because everything's buildable all of a sudden. So having a list of things to do and like refining it over time, right? And you go back and you're like, yeah, this is kind of a stupid feature. having them like just decant over time is like pretty good. So let's see if it got the alt screen working now, and let's see what it actually did here. I wonder why like is so intent on making yeah, no, this is totally not how it should do it. I wonder how the TUI viewer does it, because the TUI viewer, when you look at the main thing that it does, it initializes the root command, it initializes the logger from Viper, it initializes the help command, and it does this here. And then it seems to be able to just run it with the logger from Viper. So it seems that here it didn't do it, right? Like it was intent on, I saw this scroll by before, it's intent on setting up its own logger. And at this point, I'm starting to get out of the vibing, right? I'm still able to vibe quite a bit because I've seen this today, and like I'm still like just saying, I've had this problem before, and you can look there and you could look there. So it's still like very, very like painterly, where I just like put paint here and there, but it's starting to be a little bit annoying. So if it's too annoying, right, because this is not what I wanted to build tonight, I'll just put it aside. I thought this would be like a nice little intro while I was eating, and you saw how far I get. Like this is a significant chunk that I'll reuse in the future, but this is not what I wanted. And the problem is that now I can't just like revert to the previous one. Actually, I can. So the alt screen doesn't see configure. So use Viper init logger from Viper instead of your logger, and I think that might suffice. Because if we look at the main command here, which is running, it will, where is the run? So it will run here. It will configure, use the global logger, and then, so this is all just like event routing stuff, which is not what we're interested in. And then it does T with alt screen, and then it just like starts it and runs it. So I think there's potential that this works. So we're reverting. Hopefully the revert worked, and we're going to see what happens here. We're 3 messages deep. I'm pretty conscious of that. I'm pretty conscious of the count of tokens down here. So we're back at the 3rd. I think around 120,000 tokens, or like 100,000, is when I start to get like a little bit worried, and where you see like weird stuff appear. Oh man, this like went fast, because it looked at this again. It's weird that it didn't have this like going in its corpus already, in its window already. So we'll let it do its thing, and if it doesn't work, I'll just commit it, put the branch aside, and like move on to our RAG, because I want to stop at 10, so like in an hour already. Yeah. And what we're going to do is we're going to, I think, mostly try to get embeddings loaded into, well, have a little program that allows us to compute embeddings and maybe insert them. I'm going to use this database called Blevy, which is a Go database that's like you can easily embed, and by easily we'll see how embeddable that is. And also, like, I love Blevy videos on freaking YouTube. It's just like so good. I used to be obsessed with this shit. So anyway, this Blevy search, Blevy is the package I want to use. And the cool thing about Blevy is that it's like fully embeddable in Go. It's kind of like, you can think of it as like an Elasticsearch in Go kind of a thing. And they added like vector search as well. The vector search is a little bit jank in the sense that it uses the FISS library by Facebook, which is a fast index for doing similarity search in vector fields. So I don't know how much I have to go back, but embeddings are basically one of the first layers in transformer architectures, which basically transform words into a distributional representation, so like in a vector form, which allows you to feed words or sentences into this like whole machinery of a transformer. And so an embedding is computed by an embedding model, and you put in a sentence, you put in like a sequence of tokens, you get back a vector of a certain size, so say 1500 numbers, for example. And these numbers kind of represent, in some sense, the semantic value of your input string. And if you have now a query string, you can start looking and say like, well, is this like in the same vector space region-ish than like the document I'm looking for? And there's like many different like subtleties there. And it will do something that's called like a similarity search to find like vectors that are similar, which is hard to do in a highly dimensional space, right? Because like in a highly dimensional space, most points are going to end up being in very different regions of space, whatever you do. And my math is very shaky on this, so take this with a grain of salt. And it's going to do similarity search, for which there's a very naive version, which is the cosine similarity, which you can easily compute for a fair amount of documents. And then I think this library here really does like a bunch of techniques on how to search that, which I think is just like some actually, I don't know. So just to show you what you can do these days, because this being a stream where I showcase the things that I discover, and hopefully people share things that they discover as well, I can do things like explain cosine similarity and FISS. And while the O3 is running, I'll start a new one. And here maybe I'll switch to 4.0 because I want a fast answer. And I'll say like, are vectors in a highly dimensional space equidistant from each other on average? Because I don't really exactly know what that is. But yeah, they tend to be nearly equidistant from each other, right? Like the relative distances between points in a highly dimensional space tends to be like around the same, versus if you have points in a 2D plane, they will often have the potential to be clumped together, right? And so I'm not going to look too closely at this. I would if, because I'm freaking way too curious for my own good, I would actually do a deep research on this. So I will actually do this, like write a course for someone with a bit shaky math background, but senior software engineer. And at the same time, now that I've like kind of have an answer with some meat to it, right? I can go to Claude and say like, make a React app to help me visualize this, because I'm a very visual person and I like having little things to play around with to understand these things, and also seeing it as code and not like mathematical notation helps me a lot, because I'm able to like retrace what type is it, what is this. In mathematical notation I tend to be lost. So while it's writing its little app, I'm going to be I think I'm just going to be like all is like my usual way of doing it. And so here we had O3, which is going to do a little bit more work, which in this case might or might not be all that useful. It explains cosine similarity, which is a pretty standard formula, which is like a dot product and then multiplying the magnitudes of the vectors, the norm, right? And so this gives you a value from like -1 to 1, because this is going to be the max amplitude if they're really like, I think, aligned. Yeah, it's really going to come down, and if they're orthogonal, it's going to like end up being 0. And then if they're like opposite each other, it's going to be -1. And then what FISS does, the similarity search, it's like for huge neighbor searches, right? Which is in our case is like overkill, because we have like 60 promptos. But I also want to leverage other parts of Levy of the search engine, which is just like more traditional search, BM25, those kinds of indexes, because I can very easily tag these documents, right? Like if I'm writing in Go, I can immediately filter out everything that's like JavaScript. And so these parameters are definitely something I want to have in my RAG because they can just like so drastically reduce the search space, which means that if they drastically reduce the search space, we can do a second thing, which is called cross embeddings, which is in this first case, we compute the embedding of the document up front and we store it in a database. And then when a query comes in, we compute the embedding of the query and then compare it and we can quickly search, right? We only have one embedding to compute at query time. But what you can also do is do cross embeddings where you basically have an embedding of a sentence that contains both a query and a response, and it will tell you how well these two fit together. And so what you can do is then, if you have your input query and you have a certain number of documents, you can basically re-rank them and say like, well, this is the document that actually matches the query the most. The problem is that you have to recompute this like embedding, this cross embedding for every document. So if you have 1,000 documents in your database, each query would like require you to compute 1,000 embeddings, which is not practical. So what you do is like you do a first filter and you say like, well, the 20 documents that I found that seem to be the most relevant using traditional and vector search techniques, those we're going to re-rank. And so that's something we're going to do again as well. And I don't know where I was with that, but then so here, there's like a bunch of indexes in FAISS, many of which I've looked into this a little bit, and then I was like, I don't actually care. But if you're into this kind of stuff, getting an initial search with O3 is often pretty interesting. In this case, there was like not too much reasoning to be done, but it started writing some Python, and often when it does write some Python here in the O3 search, it has a tendency to be pretty good. It's not always good. And I read on X today by one of the guys behind O3 that you should try regenerating. And I haven't regenerated very often with O3, I must admit. So in the meantime, our deep research on building a course to help us understand this is going to come out. And then here we can kind of see the simulation of what happens when you start having multiple dimensions. So here you can see this like clustering. I don't fully know if this works, right? But I can imagine that this is just a distribution of the different angles between different vectors. So a lot of vectors here, you see that a lot of vectors point into the same direction. And as you augment the, right, like if you have, obviously the more vectors you have, the more equally distributed this is going to be in 2 dimensions. But when you start like augmenting this, like very quickly, you'll see they tend to be all like kind of at each other's odds because there's so many dimensions that they can be in. Like even in 3 dimensions, you already see this like drastic shift. So we're 3 dimension, and so suddenly in 3 dimension, most vectors you choose are going to be like orthogonal in some dimension at least, and then you will end up having this like this angle that's like pretty close. Like even if they're close on another one, they'll still be at this kind of like 90-degree angle ish. I don't know what an angle in like 15 dimensions means, but actually I do know. But so it's really nice to have here. If I were to use this for real, right? Like I would look at the math a little bit more closely, but Claude is really nice for this kind of stuff, to just like look at things and then potentially, do some kind of clustering plot or whatever. So usually the problem is that usually after 2 instances, you're kind of done because it just like tends to write so much code. But you can take this code over and just like start modifying it in like a more traditional editor, right? And I won't show this today because it's too much of a tangent, but I wanted to show you like how much you can be ambitious in like your learning or in building things that support your learning. Like, and this is again why I think vibe coding is really important for even advanced engineers. Is like you have to do this a lot to realize how far you can go and develop this sense of like, I wrote a ton of React. I have like no freaking idea how it works. But I can How can I look at the code here? Oh, like this. There's a little part here that I can understand, right? Like this is not too bad. And then I can do the perform dimension sweep. Like, okay, and then like this part here, it works, and also like I really don't care. But that would have taken me like literally all day to build. So now I can concentrate on these two things here, right? And then I can do exactly the same thing. I can take this code and I can start like transmogrifying it. Yeah, because like, why not? And so I can go back into O3, for example, and I can paste this stuff in here, and then I can say explain, right? And so you can do this back and forth of like being pretty loose with what you select and what you do with it and all of that. That's something you can only really gain by like letting go. And still, like I do care about this a lot, right? But I also am like kind of letting go of like a research going here, and I've got like a React thing going there, and like I'm regenerating my O3. And yet I do have, I've never seen a visualization of this like dimensionality, equidistant stuff. So that's something that's going to be filed in the back of my brain. And if I was a little bit more diligent about my knowledge base, which I'm not right now, this is stuff that would file away. So over here we regenerated, and it came out pretty much the same. It did a difference thinking trace. It came out with like a quick implementation of this, then it went over FIISS. It gives us the name of the indices, and then it gives us a Python thing. I'm going to regenerate once more because why not? How can I regenerate? Is there like one here? Yeah. So I can say try again. I'm just curious because I saw that this was kind of important with O3 to regenerate. And to go back to this like transform things back and forth, you do augment the chance of like something being misinterpreted, but also if you use grounding models like O3, there's, I don't know, they're just like really good at actually being right. It's a little bit freaky, to be honest, because I'll be something, I'll be like, oh, that's a hallucination. I'll be like, no, I was wrong. It's like a little bit like questioning the compiler. And what I find with O3, it's like often it's like a little bit cryptic. I'm like, what the fuck is a hypersphere? So this often leads to like more rabbit holes where I'm like, yeah, this is cryptic. I don't really understand it. And like I feed it back in there and say like, yeah, can you explain that to me? And then out comes some more cryptic stuff. But they're actually cryptic for a reason. And I often end up with like some pretty interesting things here, right? What you'll observe, the high dimensional surprise, this is a concrete illustration of the concentration of measure phenomenon, right? Like, so that's interesting. I've never heard of that. And then I'll just do a traditional search. And now I'm being like, okay, this is Wikipedia. It's like inscrutable math. So it's inscrutable. So what I'm going to do is, you know, so I'm pushing it a little bit to the extreme here. But this really allows me to dive really deep into areas that I know nothing about and that I'm like completely unqualified to learn, right? Because I'm lacking so much grounding knowledge in all of this. However, being able to like cheat my way through still allows me to like solidify at least an understanding of the geography of the field. It does often get stuck. That's something I've noticed. So anyway, I wanted to show you like vibing and like just playing with it is something I've done from the beginning and that I think a lot of people don't do. Or like a lot of software developers think like, oh yeah, it's for writing software. So, and I know how to write software. So it has to be this, like this format. And I'm just like, nah, man, I'm watching Netflix. I'm just like copy pasting. I'd be copy pasting like random files from GitHub into the LLM and then another random file from a completely different GitHub and then just press enter and then just see what happens. Right. So always very, very interesting what you can get out of it. And then just regenerating is pretty fun too. So, so yeah, all really fun. To show you another example, like I took I took code out of this first visualization, right, of the first React thing. So now I'm taking just the math out of it and then say, I'm going to make another app, but with the same math. And out is going to come something completely different where I'm be like, oh, this is like an even better visualization of the issue. So experimenting with this, because they're so probabilistic and they're so dependent on like whatever they find, right? Like if you, especially the tool call models, they kind of amplify the probabilistic side of things, because if it generates like a slightly different search, then it will like really change its context window, right? Like before it would like probabilistically, but maybe if the sentence was like kind of the same, it wouldn't really matter. If it now searches for like 3 different words and gets completely different search results, then like the whole research is going to be different. So very, very interesting things with these like reasoning tool use models. In terms of what comes out. And I haven't nearly played with them enough that as I should. And so, yeah, this guy's writing. This is still like doing its course. This was our first research. Oh, here's our course, right? So I saw that you can like now look at the PDF as well. So that's going to be fun. That will save me like a trip to Pandoc. And so what I do here, which is really, really cool, is I'll print this out every morning, right? Like, why not do it? I hope my print menu on Linux is going to work. So, and then I'll print this out and then I'll just read it and go through it with a pen in the morning, because I really like paper, and it's very easy, I think, with these deep research results to like not be read with the precision that they should be read with. And so printing them out on paper is like the thing that really helps me do that. So I'm glad that they have the export to PDF, because that was always like a little bit tedious. So I do that a lot. Like that's why I have like so many deep researches going where I'll have things that are crazy. For example, it's like yesterday I had some pretty gnarly like Postgres performance issue. I gave O3 access to my database over an MCP so it could run like explain. And I said like, look, this is the web page I want to get. Here's how you can get the logs, because in the logs you would see the timing and the SQL queries I was using. And then here's the database, and like, please make this fast. And it actually did like a lot of stuff. I'm not a good Postgres person. I'm a MySQL guy. And it like, you know, it's these moments where like O3 is just like, yeah, man, it's like, it's not like AGI or whatever, but it's just like, it's just better than me. And obviously it's much faster. And so it did this whole like, oh, well, I'm going to try this index. Oh, that didn't work. Like, why didn't it work? Let me look at the source code. Oh, well, it looks like it's doing this function. So in the logs, it said this. So maybe I'll try this index. And it did this like crazy 20 tool calls in a row for like 5 minutes. And then it came back and it's like, now it's fast. And indeed, it cut it down from 3 seconds to 50 milliseconds. But because O3 and Cursor just like literally tells you absolutely nothing, like all the thinking traces were empty. So I had no fucking idea what was going on, right? Like I just had like, oh, I create this index and it will work. So I used that again. I used all the changes that it did, but fed them back into Sonnet and said like, please Sonnet, you know, like go through these steps, call the same MCPs and whatever, and write up what you found, right? And this is one of these is like the result of is this file here, which I loaded then into deep research, and I said like, oh, write a book about this journey of optimizing our database queries, and out came this like pretty great book about, you know, all the things that I was missing, where I was like, okay, well, what are the indexes that exist in Postgres? Because I'm not fully cognizant. And then it like went really deep, because what it ended up doing is like materializing an index over a Postgres function. And I didn't know you could do that. It was indexing something inside JSON. So now I have this like whole book about how all of these things were like optimized, right? And then because there were like so many stop starts, because it tried this index and then that didn't work very well, and then it like tried this other index and that didn't work very well. I had like a whole opportunity of really going deep into things, and like it would tell me like, oh, well, from the explain, you could see that this thing here was doing this scan. And so all this like crazy pattern matching is now in a form that is very, very presentable. And at the end, it said like, look, here's the Rails migration that we decided to do. But then that didn't work. So we tried this approach, and then that didn't really fully work. So we tried this approach, and then that didn't fully work. And like, it does this like insanely precise write-ups because it has the logs. It has like all this context in there, and it writes it up nicely, right? Like this is actually pleasant to read. I don't care actually. So this is one of those where I was just like, I'm going to trust it. I'm going to like commit it next to the index optimization for the person who comes next. And then I actually don't want to fill my brain with like Postgres Rails optimization stuff. So once I had that, right, like I had a fast query. I, however, needed to have like a fast pagination page. So the same game played again, except it was writing Rails code this time and not Postgres. And then I said like, oh yeah, write like a follow-up part about the Rails side of things, right? And then it did exactly the same thing where like learn about a ton of gems I really don't care about. But also I know if I do have to actually start really digging into this, like, have you ever seen a write-up of a optimization thing that is like that good? I've never, right? Like I've seen some impressive like blog write-ups where someone really spent a lot of time, but some random like backend page optimization really doesn't warrant that kind of effort. But now it's there, right? It's like, it will tell me like, oh, when you do search on the original, like it was doing these things, but like we optimize it for this. But then we realized that maybe this gem was interfering with it. So we did this. Like it's a pretty nice write-up. And if I didn't care about these like whole intermediate steps, I do have like now like, I don't know, like 100 kilobytes of text written about different aspects from the really low level, just like the trace of the logs and SQL with some LLM interspersed, to these write-ups that have been augmented for like 10 minutes by web searches and background information and all of that. And so I can quickly say like, ask questions, right? Which brings us back to our RAG, which is this would be a pretty good document to have indexed and potentially surfaceable, whatever, when needed, right? It would be great to say, oh, I struggle with like the performance of this page, and it's like, I've got a document for that, without having to look through the millions of documents that I'm starting to have. So where did we left off? So yeah, if this doesn't work, then too bad. So we're going to do prompto TUI, and then it still does the logging. It's weird because it doesn't do it in the other one, which is really interesting. I think this might be because it's using a different logger for the watcher. I think that's kind of what it is here. So we're going to write this in our to-do, and then we're going to say the logging. So the logging display interferes. I think it's actually the logger the watcher uses, which is a bigger problem, which doesn't use the glazed configured one. So we're going to leave it at that because we have better things to do. I'm going to commit this though. And I'm going to commit third party. And I'm going to commit command, and I'm going to say art poop reorganize logging initialization, but the watcher still logs to std out. And we have linting errors, which we will fix another time. I'm going to push this to my fork, and that's something we'll I'll come back to maybe. All right, cool. So back to embeddings. What do we want to do today? We want to have embeddings computed for these documents. And what I also want to have is a structured data that I can use to index more traditional parts of all of this, right? Like the title, maybe the programming language, maybe the repo, like those kinds of things would be pretty important to get. And what's the best way we could approach this? Like the first thing maybe that I want to do is add a whole set of debugging tools to Prompto to kind of like experiment with different aspects of that. So I'm going to start a branch, which is task like add rag, very simple. And I don't remember if I have embeddings commands already going in here. I don't think I do. But the first thing would be to just like take a Prompto and generate its embeddings, for example, right? So what we might want to do here is if we go into third party again, and I'm going to link my Geppetto framework, which is my LLM embeddings framework with all of that stuff. And I'm also going to link Pinocchio to this. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to start a new chat here. And oh, it looks like we need to check out the agent file that we generated from this other branch that we had, which was task add repository UI, task add repository UI, TUI, and then agent MD. So we have an agent now. I'm going to commit it, add amp code agent markdown. And what we're going to do now is just like basically vibe code this as a command. I do know where my embeddings are described, and it describes the APIs. So this is a document that I want to rag later on, right? And you can see it already has a bunch of like metadata up front, which is a really old thing that I did before LLMs were on my radar, which allows me to like search help pages and all of that. So I'm going to start and just say like, look, add a embeddings command and you give it a Prompto and then it computes the embeddings for the rendering of that Prompto, right? So I'm going to do this. Add a -- embeddings flag to get.go so that it computes the embeddings of the rendered Prompto and returns them as JSON. There's a few things that it needs, and I don't know if those are in the documentation. They are, so that's pretty good. But what I might want to have here is like a better way of initializing these based out of a layer. And I'm not sure. Yeah, we have it. So perfect. Add the necessary layers to the glazed command. And hopefully that's enough. I hope I don't have to give it more context. Just to be sure, I'm actually going to give it a little bit more context. And this is, again, what I'm doing by hand here is why I'm actually building this rag, is so that I can do it, either have the model do it itself, or I can just like prompt the MCP manually and just say like, yeah, I know this document exists, like just search for it. And it adds it to the context without me having to do all this like this linking and cross-referencing and finding files and remembering where the files are. So that's really what I want to achieve with all of this. And here we can see this using commands part, right? Which we were talking about early in this session. Like the result of glazed here of using commands, I realized I could have gone to my rendered Prompto here and just say, oh, using commands, where is it? And I could just like take the link here or like copy the whole thing to the clipboard. So I could just do that, for example. Let's try that. Let's see how well it performs. What the fuck is that? Man, Ruby is so bad. Where was my thing here? All right. C And, I could also link the file, which is probably going to save me a tool call, but like, who knows? Let's see. I want to see if it's able to access it and what happens. A lot of this is experimentation, right? And so this document here details a lot about how this glazed framework, which I wrote, allows you to quickly add command line flags, for example, right? Like if you start interacting with LLMs, you very, very quickly have like a huge amount of parameters, like which API key and which API provider and which model and like how many tokens and like what temperature and like how many top K sampling and all of that. So this allows you to quickly add all of these flags. And once you start adding like even more things like Elasticsearch and Postgres and Redis, like you start having so many flags to manage that I started building all these like layers of flags that you can add, and you can, parsing strings to values is really hard. Because what if you want a list of integers? Like, how do you give that over JSON? How do you give that over the command line? How do you give that in like a REST form? So all these adapters are really at the core of Glazed, and that's why it's a little bit over-engineered, and it was like engineered towards low token LLMs, where I was really like, look, I have like 500 tokens space to put my config. I better make it count. These days, these APIs require a little bit too much reasoning. So this happens, right? Like my package names are not great. They're all called like layers and parameters, and it like really confuses it. So those are things that we might need to revise a little bit. And I don't think it like fully got what I'm going for here. Like I don't know what this is here. I think this is getting confused, but that's also a good thing to know, right? Know when it's getting confused. Always pretty interesting. And so, okay, so I know the issue here. I know what the issue here is, and this is a Cobra command and not a Glazed command. And I should have known that Prompto is so minimal that it actually never got the treatment of getting turned into a Glazed command, which means that all these patterns that I gave it don't apply. So the first thing we're going to do is actually transform get.go into a Glazed writer command C. And then here, I'm actually going to give it the file, or should I give it the URL? I'm going to give it the URL just because I'm really curious if it actually does that for a detailed guide. Like, I don't know if the prompt engineering on this really matters. If I do need to say like write a detailed guide, like, right, like it's doing weird shit. It's not calling the web page, but I'm pretty sure I saw this. It has like read web page. So that is weird. I kind of want to get it to do that. So let me try some prompt engineering. Read the web page. Yeah, come on. First. And for example, Cursor has a weird thing where it doesn't allow you to access localhost. It has to go through their site. So, right, like ngrok could be like an option. Okay, so it's reading it. And it's looking for the pattern, but the wrong one, I think. So I wonder if it's going to find like the stuff that is in third party, right? This is interesting. I've never seen that part, like unpacking those to see that it actually gets a lot of tool calls in here. And you can see there's like no clever like search call in here, which you maybe would have expected from Sourcegraph. They just use ripgrep apparently. So really interesting. And so it's weird. Like I really wonder if it has found this, because this is so well detailed, right? Like look for examples of write a command interface. It's like, dude, it's right here. So this is more experimentation than I usually do, because I don't trust what it read. So I'm just going to give it the file. And so I have a Prompto MCP already, but you have to give it like the exact names of the thing. So that's something we could add here, right? Like I've never added a custom MCP to Glazed, and the Prompto MCP I think I built yesterday or 2 days before was also a one-shot in AMP code. Actually, I wonder, can you search your? Oh, I stopped the web server, right? Like that's why I was not able to read it. What, or did it? I don't know. I don't think you can search your history. Oh, you can. Build Go MCP for Prompto project. So that was 2 days ago. And yeah, it was a one shot. And so it's often a one shot because I've architected my code bases so that if I want to add a feature, it's very easy to do so by using, because the interfaces are like, I know how I'm going to extend things. And so all of these frameworks are built so that they're extendable at a certain level while being able to like reuse a lot of the other code. So by the simple fact of having a Prompto glazed command, I can register glazed commands as MCPs, for example, right? Because at the end of the day, they're, as like Uncle Bob says, they're all functions. They basically are a function that you expose into different contexts. You can call them over a wire by sending JSON. But that's why often I say like, oh, I one-shot it by, I'm kind of like cheating in a sense because it's all like greenfield. But also it's like that I architected the framework so that, right, like you need to add like maybe 4 lines in one file and then you need a new file and then you have this like new feature added. And so it's nothing new, it's nothing rocket science, right? Like all our frameworks are designed so that if you want to build a new feature, it's like fairly easy to do without having to massage 1,000 files. But for some reason, people like then dismiss and say like, oh, LLMs are not useful. They can only like greenfield. It's like, yeah, but that's why we do software architecture. It's like, I know that they suck at editing existing code because they often like get it wrong. But so that's how bad they are is like a very debatable thing. And sure, but also like if you're a senior engineer, like you should know how to architect stuff, right? So what did we even do here? Oh, this is a different project, sorry. So still looking at converting this to a Cobra command. So we're getting a little bit into the weeds here, right? Which is in order to vibe me the embeddings into all of this, right? To like do a bit mixeroo, I do actually need to do some preliminary work so that the pattern matching of the patterns that I've already documented actually works, because currently the whole thing is not in the right shape. So in order to get there, I do have to change that. And so it seems like there's so much like package names that are wrong, that it might very well be that this function exists, but I was just like not able to find it, and I didn't name them right. I like did quite a mess, I must say, right? I'm really skeptical about what it has read in these files, because that's not how it's supposed to do it. Because in using commands, and 15 using commands here, there is build Cobra from command. So I'm not sure what it's reading here, because it should have a pretty well described thing. So I'm not fully sure how this, it has built Cobra command from command, and then it tries to modify it. Okay, so this is not good. I wonder if it's a fluke on how to do so, or if I need to prompt a little bit more, right? Like first build new get command and get command run, then replace the entirety of the existing Cobra command with build Cobra command from command. So I'm being a little bit more explicit here, and obviously I know how this roughly works. But also I'm just like echoing words from here. So I say like please do a new thing, please do this, like please follow this thing in order. And we'll see where we get, right? Because maybe I didn't need to do it didactic. I should have said like, oh, follow this step by step, for example. Or maybe just like replace the existing Cobra command instead of transform. Or maybe transform the Cobra command into a glazed command. Maybe would have been a good prompt. So we'll see. Well, actually, what we're going to do is, I mean, I'm going to burn some AMP credits, but I know it's Sonnet in the background as well. So we'll see. But if we look at this, this looks much better, right? Actually, sorry, I just shouldn't scroll that fast. So the packages are there. It has the get command settings, which is an important thing. The get command struct is also important. It has the writer command correctly. It has the new get command, right? But I explicitly prompted to do this. I said like explicitly write the run command. And then the interactive get is like another functionality that's interesting. And then it has like build get Cobra command, which transforms that, right? And so this is it being like oddly conservative, but sure, why not? And then it should just overwrite the get go. So this is I think something in Sourcegraph's prompt where it often cries to create a new file and then either move them over or merge them, which is I think a very good thing because they suck at editing files. And I mean here it works, right, which is pretty nice. And it's still wrong. It really seems to struggle with like wanting to keep the existing Cobra command. So that is pretty funny. And now it's starting to break all this stuff. So it really doesn't want to let go of the existing command. So that is funny. Yeah, it really doesn't want to do it. This is weird, man. Because it has everything correctly in the first version. Like this is all correct as far as I can tell. And then it just like starts destroying itself. It's really, really bizarre. And maybe like the fact that I don't have it in the right shape really shows you when an agent does well or not, like how on rails the pattern matching needs to be, because they so quickly just like destroy themselves. They're so close. They're so freaking close to the right thing. And then it takes one little thing to just have them just like completely ravage everything. It's mind-blowing to me. It's like it takes one failed edit file to call for something to completely derail, or like one forgetting to go into the right directory for it to destroy the whole code base. It's amazing. So these agents are like fun. They're really, really fun. And now maybe the karma is paying me back because I had so much luck today that it like really doesn't want to work. So this is great. Like this, but I think it has already started to destroy itself. So we can have a look at the get new. And I think it all looks like correct, right? Like this is great. And then if we look at the get.go, the new get command giving us this really should just like return. Yeah, I don't know why it's trying to so hard to be backwards compatible. Really, really weird. And this is used in commands. So in commands, we're actually just going to use the current code. And obviously now I'm not vibe coding anymore, right? It's but with the tab completion, you can go pretty quickly for these things. Sorry, and then you can delete the get.go. and we can rename this to get.go. So we've replaced it. I think it still works. It has the interactive command as well. So we're gonna try that, right? Like go run command prompto get should be the interactive thing. We're in the wrong directory. Let's try again. So this still seems to work. That's great. Then if I do glazed using commands, I still get it. And then if I do get glazed using commands, it still works. So this was our first task. Took a little bit. I'm kind of impressed that it went so badly. But so what we did here is just like basically artistic refactoring is like turn get into a Cobra command, right? And there's the lint. So this is, the lint is something that I don't let AmpCode do. And I'll show you why. I'm going to commit this. As I said here, but not run my git commit hook. And if we do a lint, you'll see there's like 2 little errors. And so hopefully if I'm lucky, it will fail this time, because I do want to show you how it fails. Is if I paste that in to tell it to correct it, right? It's going to do very, very small edits, because it really is just a single line to change, and it will not be able to apply that line. And it will try to do so. Yeah, see? It fails, then it rereads it again, then it like tries to apply it again. And like sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. And when it doesn't work for like 3 times, it rewrites the entire file and moves it over. So here we were lucky. And then it's going to do the same thing for the second one. It might get like luckier this time, but you saw it happen once, right? Like it can be that like there's like 4 or 5 like failed tools in a row. Or maybe here it like got modified. So that's good. So that, forget what I said. This was pretty good, but now it's like doing this like get wrapper again, right? Like why? No, don't do a get wrapper. Like there's no need for a get wrapper. So I don't know, man. It's like it's weird to tell these things what to do. So I don't know. I deleted the wrapper again. But now that we have this, you know, while I'm at it, I might as well do all the other commands the same way, right? Because new list command here, like serve command, all of these are things that I do want to have as glazed command, because why not? Like this gives me like my standard way of interacting with things. So I might go here, don't build wrappers. Now convert all the other commands like list, which serve into glazed commands as well, like the get one, right? And because it has a guide now on how to do that in its context window, I think I can just let it rip. I'm a little bit skeptical because things went so bad so far, but we'll see. And we haven't gotten to RAG at all, but you can kind of hopefully this kind of shows you how I like lay things into place so that I can vibe over them, and then how I decompose things so that I have the least amount of like this little nitty gritty shit to do, right? It's that's horrible to do, and is not fun. It's not how I want to spend my evening. So I'll break down my tasks until I know that the model can kind of get there. And if it doesn't get there, I'll like kind of be like, that's funny. Like I learned something. It's not able to do this. Why did it not do this, without trying to fix the code? I'll just be like, well, that's my vibe coding session in a way, or like LLM coding session, I would call it at that point. The vibing went all right. Like there's something weird that happened. I want to understand why. And that's actually where I'm going to concentrate my effort. Is like, I know how to fix the file, right? Like I know how to do this traditionally, but I want to understand why something that I thought the model would be able to do didn't work. Or if I do something really ambitious, like the file picker stuff we saw earlier, that was pretty ambitious. I was like, yeah, this is not going to work. It ended up being that we didn't get very far because an old framework of mine has a problem which blocked us. So again, there's like removing these impediments to just vibing, I think is really a core competency of being a senior developer now. It's like, I do want to vibe code, but to do so, I do have to architect my code base in a certain manner. And so one of the reasons why I think people say like, oh, you can vibe code web apps is that a lot of effort has been put into web app frameworks to be so viable, right? Like when you have React, you can build a React app kind of from scratch without having to do like complicated intertangled things. Once you add state, this all flies out of the window, right? It's like, but if you are pretty clean about bubbling down things that are immutable and don't start peppering everything with effects that like fake the mutability in ways that at the surface look mutable again, and the surface matters, like the LLM doesn't care that underneath it's like functional. It sees set state and it's like, yeah, I'm going to set the state. So if you use something like Redux, then suddenly you're able to compose state at the semantic surface without much being able to go wrong. If I call dispatch an action, then it doesn't matter where it is in the flow. It doesn't really matter where, what, X, etc. And also I'll have a very clean flow that I can trace. So that's why I keep telling like React plus Redux are like a killer combo to build complex web apps with removing your hands from the handle, right? It's that you can do insane stuff with those two things. And I mean, just to show you maybe how far we can get with that. Control L does this. Build a React like a bun plus Vite plus React plus RTK toolkit plus Storybook app to browse the glazed help system C glazed help, because that's like one of the other ideas that I had, which was just like, oh yeah, I kind of want to like make a help system viewer. So package help.go. Yeah, so that's good. And help.md. Do I have like help.md? Help.md. Help example, help system. I'm not sure how old. This is like 01.help system. Like how old is this? Git blame. Can I look at that? No? No, it doesn't allow me to look at it. How old is this? FD find 01 help. All right. Git blame. All right, git log. Yeah, whatever. This is from 2 years ago. Yeah, this is pretty old. And by 2 years ago, I think this is going to be October or so of 2022. All right, but let's see, right? Like here, ambitious one step kind of thing, right? Where I'm just going to be like, YOLO. Just see where it goes. So here you'll be able to see, like there's not much state, but I put RTK toolkit in there anyway. And actually, I forgot something with a Go backend, right? Because we do need a backend for this. I should have put a folder where to store it, but like we'll see what happens. So just an experiment. And I know this is like completely separate from this other tab that I have running, because now I have like 2 agents running, right? I have the convert get command to GlazeWriter. And then, yeah, sure, I do want to remove this. I removed it already by hand. So, so now I'm going to let it do its thing in a loop here. Hopefully we'll figure it all out. Because I know the get command was working, so it should be able to have like all it needs to do it. The UI could be a little bit better here in terms of building this. And then Storybook is also really nice, not just because it's a nice thing to test React components, but because using a browser tool, MCP, I can very, very targeted, like, please look at this one page that has this one component smack in the middle without anything else. and really refine a single component without having too much visual garbage. It's a really useful like kind of loop to build these things. And so actually I forgot one more thing. Use TypeScript. And this is something I should put into my, like, there's no AMP code rules, but it's the choice of framework that really, really works well to scaffold like some pretty huge shit. And then what you can do is like, you can experiment in Claude UI, right? Like we were in Claude AI, we were doing these experiments early. Oh, actually we generated a new one, right? We haven't even looked at it. Because it doesn't work. So let's just regenerate that while we're at it. And then I was showing you this other UI that we had earlier for the surprising geometry of high dimensional spaces. This one here, right? I can take the code of that and just paste it in and say like adapt it to my framework, which is TypeScript and Redux. And it's able to do it pretty easily because in Redux, you have this call like dispatch and then the name of an action. And so you can put those everywhere. And then to get the data, you have something called like use selector on, and you have like a different names of selectors that you can have where you can investigate a certain state. And so these are the words match very closely when I say like, oh, well, I want to show the cart items. If I do an e-commerce page, then it's going to look, it's going to read like use select shopping cart.items, and that's basically what you wanted to write. You don't need to like bubble it through props from like 3 files above or other techniques using like providers where again you have to be like, well, what is in this provider? It's like here it's like literally show me the shopping cart items. It's like called me like select shopping cart items. So it's semantically much easier to match. And then you have these dispatch calls that are, you can basically put them everywhere on click, and you can say like, well, on click add cart item is like basically what it looks like, right? Like in the on click handler, it will say like dispatch add item to cart. And sure, that's exactly it. Yet it will cleanly be diffused to your entire application. And you will have a very clear log in which order these things happen by definition, right? Like if you start using use states, you will start to have to log things, and then it's like becomes messy because you're not supposed to log necessarily in like effects, and it becomes a very complicated stuff to trace. Also, for the dispatching actions, you can take the Redux query log and just paste it into the model and say like, look, this is what happened. Like, I don't think this worked. And then it's able to parse that pretty well and make it match, right? So this is telling us, what is it telling us? So it's loading a bunch of examples here in the section cart stories. It did create like a bunch of index CSS. So I actually should have told it bootstrap, but we'll get there. It has a section detail. It has a section list, has a section card. It has a navigation bar. It has a help API. So it hasn't built the backend, right? And then it has a whole like app main stuffy stuff. One thing that I should carry over because it took me quite some time is how to set up this like fake server serving for Storybooks so that we can hook up APIs like MSW. That's always kind of a mess to set up. But I just wanted to show you basically, so what did it say? Make web install. So far, so good. And then make web dev. And then we can call it 404 not found. Okay. Make run help browser. Oh, it really does that? It did do that? Make run help browser. Oh, it did create a server. Okay, cool. So I don't want to spend too much time here. Like this was like more like a side quest, but it's a side quest that I always wanted to do. And so we're going to side quest this into Prompto commands, list glazed. So no, that's not the stuff I want. It's like I want package, I want make file, and then okay, so git add pkg, git add make file, git add command helper browser, git add web. What else do we need? Oh shit. So we're gonna open the git ignore of and then say like add standard TypeScript React ignores, because we do want to ignore git module, right? All right, looks cool. No, this is fine. Oh, Jesus Christ. All right, so git add web, git add, git ignore, and then anything else we might need? No, I think this is good. All right, so this we're going to call add help web app poop, because it doesn't work, right? Like add glazed help navigation web app. And there's a good chance that I'll completely forget about this branch, which, oh well. And then we'll go back to the previous one, which is, what was our previous branch? It's add rag. Get there. And it's interesting, now it has like the list glazed and it has list, so it's didn't delete the previous files. What did it do? Convert get command to, oh, so it wasn't finished. Okay. I shouldn't have it fix the lints, to be honest. Don't fix the lints. So maybe that's something to put in the agent as well. Is like, don't fix the linting, but run go build to check for compiler errors. I've transformed all the things here. So why is there a list glazed and why is there a list still? That's going to be interesting. It's because those are empty, right? So this one's not empty because that was the one that I handled. But I'm going to leave it like that. For now, I'm just going to go test this. And we do have now git help. Sorry, I should make this a little bit more readable. So we have edit which list. So let's do list. Go run prompt to list, and then we can do -- help, and we do get the proper glazed help, and it looks like it did list as a structured data command, right? So now I have all these flags from my framework where I can do like output like this, or I can like I can do select group and sorry, -- I can do all kinds of things, right? But this is great. I'm going to delete these 3 files and I'm going to rename the other ones just so that we're, I don't know, I find that pretty ugly. We have all of this. I'm going to commit it. And now we can do what I originally wanted to do. And after that, I'll call it a night is, oh, what do we have in web? Oh, just the node modules. Cool. Git add command, git add agent, and readme and say like sparkles. Nah, it's just gonna be like art. Transform Cobra commands into glazed commands. And the thing we wanted to do is add an embeddings flag to the get command, right? So now that we have everything as Cobra commands, my documentation on how to add embeddings will actually work. All right, cool. So we're all set. And if we go back to my prompt history here, I think I do have a prompt add embeddings flag to Cobra, right? add embeddings flag to command get go, so that, and so now I can restart it, except that this is not running. So I'm just going to link it by hand since we have the repo there. And there we go. So now it is actually a glazed command, and before it wasn't, so that's why I wasn't really able to get that far. But now everything's laid out to basically, it just like copy paste out of a file, basically, right? It's like it sees like, oh, this kind of matches this word over here, so I'm just going to paste these things over there, and then there's like third file which looks like it fits in here, and then it will fit it in. It's not the craziest stuff, right? Like it's not like the craziest reasoning or stuff like that, but it is superbly useful because it is taxing stuff to do as a human. And then these things are getting so fucking good that they are actually starting to add things that are pretty important or pretty clever. I don't know really what it's doing here, like adding tick token go. I don't know why it found it, but also I'm just going to go with the flow, right? I'm going to see how far it gets until I really see something where I'm like, this is not going to work. So this looks pretty good. I added like a dash embeddings. And now, I'm if I were by myself and fresh and it wasn't like 10 p.m. after going for a run, I would like do something productive. But since we're vibing and this thing is like working for us, and this is a crazy way of working. This to me, I've got like more and more used to it because I did this a lot over the last month. I spent like $800 or something with agents. But it's kind of wild to me that I'm able to like look at this stuff and then kind of like at the same time I'm actually getting real work done is like wild to me. So this is pretty cool, huh? So you could look at the distance distribution between different vectors at 3 dimensions, and then if you go to like 200 dimensions, you end up with this like uniform distribution where they're all like kind of equidistant around, like in this case 10, and then it's very drastic with the angles. And since we do similarity distance with embeddings, like that kind of is I don't know how important it is, to be honest, but I think it is a big deal if I remember reading correctly. Actually, I don't know if it's a big deal, so I might just ask. Is it called concentration of measure? Yeah. Is concentration of measure important for embeddings in ML? Wouldn't the vectors mostly be at the same angle? Since we're measuring the angle, right? Like we're not measuring distance of points, we're measuring the angle between vectors. And I'm curious, I actually don't know. All right, what's our dude doing? Yes, always run. What is it doing? Yeah, no, it's just like, yeah. Perfect. Our new embeddings flag is showing up in the help output. The implementation is complete. Here's what we achieved. Added the embeddings flag to the get command settings. When the embeddings flag is provided, the command computes the rendered prompt, generates token embeddings using tick token go. What? Returns a JSON representation with content, token count, token array, lines, and size. Wait, what? Oh, I didn't even tell it what embeddings to use. Oh, I'm an idiot, right? So I said like, oh, use 06 embeddings for computing the embeddings. And at the same thing, we could do Olama list, Olama serve. Is that running? Yeah, it's already running. And then we do have, I think, what we have this embedding model here. And then I really need to build like an LLM tool with search. Actually, that's something we could do as well. That's going to be fun. So this is Geppetto. And what we might want to do is add support for the Claude API for tool call, right? So Claude API with search tool call. Anthropic's API. Claude can now use tools. Tool use with Claude. So that's not the one. Token efficient tool call. Requests. Oh, I started implementing that and I don't remember where I put it. Token efficient tool call. Okay. The web search tool gives you that how to use web search. Tools, web search, and then okay, interesting. So what we might want to do is interesting. How does it know where the primes py file is? Oh, the view command. Okay, interesting. So the tool search tool, gonna add that. And we're gonna turn this into a markdown file, which doesn't really work. So I'm just gonna copy paste this in here, and I'm gonna say, turn this into an exhaustive and detailed document about the search tool API for Anthropic in GTEM 2025-05-13-01 add search tool Anthropic API.markdown. And then what's the URL? We're going to add the URL as well. And the it has the server tool use thing. So that's a new type. And so I wonder where the types are defined. Server tool use, and then server tool use and web search tool result. Where are those defined in the API? Anthropic streaming messages. Okay. And then streaming event types, content block, ping events, content block, input JSON, thinking delta. And where's the web search tool? Okay, content block delta, and then didn't it say like server tool use? Oh, because it's a content block, and then it says content block type. So what are the content blocks? A series of content blocks, each of which must have a content block start, content block delta, and content block stop. Because we do have a pretty advanced way of doing these things. In Geppetto for the streaming, right? Like that's one of the things that I'm pretty proud of. And so content block start is like one of those. And here we're going on the side quest again, I'm sorry, but we have this like streaming message thing over here, which details it. And then we have streaming block start type over here. And each block will have an index, each block, and then block delta types, block error events. We may add new event types, and your code should be able to handle new blocks gracefully. So I wonder if it can do that. Because content block is text type tool use tool result. So I wonder if this is like super flexible here. I don't think it is. So this is also something that we'll add in a new document here, which is, or actually, why not do it in AMP code? So we're going to do a new one, and, or should I do it in Claude just to not burn so much? Whatever. So we may add new event types, and your thing should be able to call them. Server tool use content block type. Okay, so I'm just going to do the same for this document. Do the same for, and then link. So just going to create a second document just to update things, right? Migrating text completions to messages or something. And then we're going to ask AMP code, say like, please first verify that we can handle unknown content types and now handle the search ones so that we can enable search in our API. And that's the kind of tasks that I'll, that's great for my ADHD, but it will make me lose my time all day. But I'll end up with like a lot of features built at the end of the day, which is pretty nice. So what did it do over here? It did now add a embeddings provider. Did it do that? No, this like new embeddings provider is like, yeah, it didn't understand this correctly. So for computing, use third party and the Geppetto embeddings providers for computing, remove the tick token thingy. So it misunderstood, it did the pattern matching in the wrong way. And then I said like, oh, well, you have like many providers and I have a tick token thingy. So I'm going to turn it into a tick token provider, but that makes no sense. So I'm a little bit annoyed that it is not able to find that. No, is it not able to find files and that's why it's like so confused? Is that what's happening here? After reading the embeddings file, give me the first 3 lines just to make sure you can read properly. I don't know, there's something like, it is weird with the files, right? And it's like my symlinks. So it is able to read it here, right? So I'm not, there's something weird. Or it's just like, I'm not lucky tonight. Okay, so that's a start. It didn't tell me the first 3 lines, right? So funny. Oh man, what the fuck is going on? Man, I'm like very confused. Remove the install Geppetto. Then, okay. But first, after reading the embeddings, the 06 embeddings.md, I've never had to do such precise prompt engineering with AMP code. It's I wonder what's going on. This whole like multi-folder thing is like not great. And I also don't want to open like my majestic, humongous mono repo. But maybe that's the thing to do, is like create a little ad hoc folder and work tree the different dependencies out into it, make their own custom Go work, and then work with that. So this time it thinks it got it because I told it to install it explicitly. Like before it said, oh, I can't find it in the Go mod, so I'm just going to try to do without. And at the very first time it did like, oh, I could install it, but then I skipped it or something. So kind of unlucky tonight, but as you can tell, I'm not like putting too much focus into it. And that's also the other thing with the agents is that I always have something to do where I can kind of, that helps me to not focus too much, which sounds weird, right? But is kind of, for me at least, a pleasant thing. So now that I have these two files, what I'm going to do in M code is like looking at 0 to migrating text, check if, and the thing to look at was, where were we looking at streaming? Check if streaming.go and the rest of the Claude API is actually able to support unknown content types. Then add support, if necessary, be graceful about supporting unknown content types, and also add support for the search tool. I think I'm going to split this into two phases. I'm going to add support for the new content types, for example, server tool use. And I'm going to ask to add the search tool in the second step. And the reason is not that I don't think it cannot add the search tool, is that I actually don't know what API I want to give for the search tool. Is like, how do I want to tell it like, oh, please enable the search tool? How is that going to look like? I don't want to mix these two things because I think it can do that pretty cleanly and then I can commit. And the second one, I'm actually not sure if it can do cleanly. So that way I have separated these two things so that I can commit one part. So this is interesting. I've never looked at those too closely. But I wonder what the ripgrep tool outputs, because it's not much. There's like 301 tokens for, what does the read file thing do? It's like not 300 tokens. Those files are way bigger. So yeah, the content block merger, that's the right place to look at. And it was interesting. Did you see it had a first pass where it only showed the function names? So that's, I think, source graph specific stuff where it was only showing the function in simple definitions before reading the whole file. And that's definitely something I've built a tool to do that kind of stuff, right? It's called like Go, it's called Oak, and you can define any kind of like tree sitter pattern matching rules on it. And so if we find the streaming.go here, is there's only one? Yeah. Then you can do Oak Go definitions and you can basically get back just the functions out of it. And I think I saw that flyby here for the content block merger, right? And that is really interesting to see. They had more functions. I'm not sure what they were looking at. Maybe it was just a grep. Maybe I'm just like making stuff up, right? But since I already have something that can do semantic grepping, that's the kind of stuff that as I'm going to look more and more into building my own agents, I can combine with the RAG that I'm doing here, where I can start creating these like custom RAGs for, or not even like RAGs. And I don't mean vector search. I mean, like if you look for a symbol name, that's stuff that I can very quickly look up in an index as we're going to build, like, I guess not today, but we could have built today. So just build, because we don't want to fix linting errors. That's actually also something I can add to the agent here, is like, don't make lint, just go straight to go build. So make build to make build. Because I don't want it to be left with what do you call it, like linting errors, which it's not able to fix very well. So here's the interesting part. So what did it add here, right? It's like content type tool result, content type image. It didn't handle our server tool use thing, right? And so here the base content, type gracefully, data, content type base, type underscore. Is that something that it added? How does this work? It definitely didn't add the new types as far as I can tell. So this is line 169. Generic content, default, JSON, unmarshal. Wait, what am I looking at? Oh, it's this, right? Content type, base type, content type, but it's not able to accommodate for unknown content types, or is it just because, no, it's a string, right? All right, so didn't I tell it to add support for all the unknown content types? So call tool type result, unsupported content block type. That's interesting. So this was line 244. I wonder the fact that it, like, I'm not fully sure why that was commented out before, if that's important or not. So this is me, add support for tool results. I'm not sure if AMCode correctly added handling the tool result. Here it was marked as error before, and then I'm going to add the exact same thing. So here I'm switching out of vibe mode, right? Because I do actually care about how my Anthropic API is built. But also I'm still like, I call this like semi-vibe coding, I guess, because I'm still not in detail mode. I'm mostly like in review mode, kind of. I'm not turning my brain off, right? I'm just doing it a little bit separately. So the thing though is like, okay, these enhance message to better full text and log, add support for the new types in 02 Anthropic. What was that, streaming? No, what was the 02 document that we have? 02 migrating text completions to messages, right? 02 migrating. It's weird that it missed that. I am skeptical about how it reads these files. It doesn't seem to read them in full. Was like my feeling, like especially the plus here. Yeah, it misunderstood what I was saying. My prompting is not up to par tonight. The new types, the ones mentioned in. Hopefully that does it. Mentioned in for the new types defined by Anthropic. For example, server tool use. It might be that they're not mentioned in here actually. Server tool use. No, they're mentioned. Multiple content types. Server tool use. And then there was another one, right? Server tool use. Server tool use. And then there was another one that was like pretty interesting. Web search tool results. So maybe I gave them the wrong URL here in chat. Extend with the stuff from. I think I might have missed the stuff. Yeah, because it did add it on my request. So the file was bad, and that makes all the difference. Right? And I should have read this like a little bit more closely. All right, there we go. Text delta, input JSON delta, thinking delta, ping events, much, much better. And then does it have server tool use? No. So it still doesn't have it. Also the new events like server tool use or web search. I wonder if they're like defined somewhere else. I don't think they are, right? Web search tool use? No. Web search tool use? Nope. Web search tool use? Website tool result? Is it defined in here? Body, messages, required, example. Example, is there a full schema? Show child attributes, message content, message string, and then it's in the response. Thinking, stream. Oh, I already looked at that. Stream. Tool choice, tools. Custom tool, compute use tool. Computer use, bash tool. Text editor. Top K response, content generated by the model. Tool use. Content ID, content type, default tool use, response server tool use, response web. So they're all in here. Thinking and then redacted thinking. So what did it add here? Content block stop, web search tool result, thinking. Thinking delta, like all of these, like, I hate this stuff because they're like, please just give me like an open API definition. Open API, Anthropic, streaming. Oh man. Like, just give me something that's machine readable, not this like JavaScript pop-up stuff. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it so bad. Sometimes you'll see it fly by as a JSON though. Are we lucky to find it as a JSON? So if I go, say, to count message tokens, I'm gonna, where's my trash can? There's my trash can. And then I'm gonna go on to message streaming JSON. See, I knew it. Cached. Here we have migrate from this. And we have message streaming. Response body has been truncated. It's 2 megabytes. Save response, copy value. Yeah, why not? What does this look like? Streaming, messages streaming JSON. All right, that's not a good start. Holy shit, what the fuck is that? Oh man. I hate this so much. Can we find this somewhere else? No. Yeah, this is old. Oh man, it's like not findable anywhere, and then you just like can't properly parse this. Like, oh, it's so infuriating. It is so infuriating. I'm telling you. Um, how can I be clever and get this like fairly easily? Because, right, like they have some real fucking JavaScript in here that does like real stuff. Show child attributes, and then when I click on it, it like, where does this appear? It's in here, undefined children, and if I do this, it like gets removed. Okay. So is there a chance that there's no chance that this actually renders, right? There's no shot that this has all the data, does it? Holy shit, it does. Redacted thinking. Okay, well, that's great. Then we're just gonna eclipse it. And we're just gonna say, here's the full doc of the API. And maybe we'll pass to Sonnet. And then maybe what I'll do, I'll go to chat OpenAI and I say turn this into a clean markdown document, exhaustive, leave nothing out. And just get like a clean markdown out of this. I guess I should have tried with like Gina AI or something. Also, I wanted to stop half an hour ago. So no rag. Oh, maybe we got some rag. It is struggling tonight. It's like crazy. It really is struggling. It's not able to get it from the layers. It's even though it's like in the, I don't know if it's able to read these files in full. It looks like it reads the beginning and then doesn't get to the end or something. I don't know. It's weird tonight. Like I know that in Cursor this would have worked much better from my sense. I'm confused that AMP code is struggling so much. And maybe it's luck. Maybe I'm just like not fully understanding something. Maybe they changed something. That could also be. So, but this is going into the right direction. This might even work. I thought this was Variadic. Oh, it's called with layers list. What is it doing? This was correct. Yeah. It's getting totally like, I don't know what it's doing with its Go doc and stuff. Like, no, that's not how you're supposed to do it. That's so weird because it's in the document. It's like literally in the document. It only has to copy paste it. I don't know what's going on. Because it doesn't seem to even be all that full. It's like at a third. For you. Very weird. Like it even found it here in its Go doc, right? And I was like, fuck this. I'm going to call something that it's not. It's like very, very weird. Because I'm sure this stuff is in here with layers. See, with layers list. So I'm getting a little bit claustrophobic in this. Get parameter layers. What the fuck? And I like added it. Because it's really weird because it like literally tells it in the document how to do this. And then it does something different. But it's like literally in the document. Very weird. I'm very confused because I thought this document was like crystal clear on how to do it. Like it's literally ready for copy pasting here. So I wonder if it hasn't read that because it's not far in the context window. It's and it really does like nothing from all of this. This is, I'm tempted to try it again. But all these fallbacks is weird too. Like I don't want to fall back. Then it does new provider, generate embedding, and puts them out. Okay, well, maybe we'll have one success, which is running at least one embedding. And so you can see now one of the reasons for all these layers is that now I have all these embeddings generation and embeddings API settings, right? And so what I can do is the embeddings type is going to be OLAMA, and then so I'm going to do embeddings, and I'm going to do -- embeddings type OLAMA, and then embeddings engine is going to be OLAMA list is going to be all mini-LM latest, right? So I think you need the full thing. Embeddings engine, and then the dimension of embeddings dim of all mini-LM. Hopefully that's in the training corpus. 384. All right. Embeddings dimensions 384. And then we can probably do glazed using commands, for example. And it didn't do the embeddings. That's fun. So maybe let's try this. Glazed using commands. And there we go. So this is the response. Name, glazed command, response content. So what is it doing here exactly? It's doing S embeddings, it's returning that, and then it's returning all of this as a response. Okay. Well, if you want. So, well, at least we can compute embeddings now. So that's nice. It's like a little bit unpleasant to do. But I'm going to put this into my envarc, and then I'm going to put, do we initialize this with prompto main? So we do initialize this with the name prompto, which means that we can do prompto embeddings type is Ollama, embeddings dimensions is 384, and then prompto embeddings engine is all MiniLM latest. Is that what it was called? Go run command prompto get -- help. Embeddings cache, embeddings dimensions, embeddings engine, embeddings type. So I'm going to put embeddings cache type disk. Export prompto embeddings cache type is file. And I think now I should be able to do all of this without -- embeddings though. No API key provided for OpenAI. Interesting. So probably my flags are not being parsed by Viper. Embeddings type. Okay, because this is not. So this is something for another day, right? Because even if I do embeddings type Ollama, it's going to complain. Yeah. Okay, well, at least we got somewhere. It was oddly difficult tonight. Very weird that it's for a file where it really just had to copy paste out of the file. It wasn't able to do it. Pretty fucking weird. So I'm going to commit, and yeah, actually I'm going to stop because otherwise I would have continued messing with it, but it's late. So add -- embeddings to get command. So that's already pretty cool. And then I'm going to save the command to run this, right? Like we got, actually I can't scroll back that easily, can I? That's crazy long. This command here that I'm going to salvage because it's going to take me time to recreate it. And then I'm going to go to my to-do, which doesn't exist anymore because I put it into another directory. So we're going to recreate it in here. We're under ttemp. Oh, it doesn't, the whole folder doesn't exist. Cool. 2025-05-13, and then here embeddings to do.md, and oh, that's the directory. I'm an idiot. Delete new file 01 embeddings to do.md, and we're going to go put this in here. So one thing that was like, check that we load values from prompto env, because we'll need that for the API key, right? Like that kind of stuff. And then add support for agent command to extract compute structured data from the prompt. So that's the thing we can do next time. Again, hopefully I'll figure out why I wasn't able to copy paste it from the tutorial. I have another tutorial on how to add like agents steps that would, in this case, like extract structured data that we can then use to do more traditional indexing of the document, and also do things like, oh, give me like 5 questions that would be answered by this command. And one goal I have in the future is that as the model is using a resource for a certain task, it will actually start updating why it would start adding vector indexes as well, because it has now more information on for what it found this document useful. So it can actually start updating the retrieval part to say like, well, like last time I was looking for something, I found this document and it was useful because of XYZ. And then it will store that. And so that the next time I look for XYZ or I have to do XYZ, it will retrieve that document, even though I never thought that it would be useful for this thing, right? So to give you an example of what that would look like is like, for example, if I take my 06 embeddings, right? And I take in the context of get.go, right? Like make a list in YAML, make a document in YAML, which is like questions answered by the document. And then like topics from code, and like maybe we can add a little bit here, things like questions useful to building get.go that can be answered by this document. Code topics that are in get.go that are relevant to 06 embeddings.md. So questions answered, topics from code, and then tags. Collection of tags that are surfaced that would apply to 06 embeddings in the context of get.go. I'm experimenting. Like this is, I'm not good at this kind of agent prompting. That's not my thing. But this is the kind of stuff that would be interesting to see, because this is the stuff that as we're coding, we can add it as generating, right? Like, so so maybe questions is not the right thing. It's like tasks described. And Sonnet 3.7 does like a ton of things, right? Tasks related to building that can be described by this document, described, guided by this document. And I'm going to switch to another model after that. Why does it do embeddings.analysis.yaml? What is it? Oh, it's creating a document with the response. Okay. See, so those things are like kind of interesting to then do embeddings over, because then the similarity between create embedding parameter layers and saying like add layers to config the embeddings, that's going to be very, 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 very close, right? So that's hopefully where we'll get to next time. And we won't do as much like preliminary kind of fuddling around, and maybe that's something I should prepare up front. So that's kind of where we're going to get at. And maybe I'll store this in part of my prompt as well. So prompt idea for structured data extraction is this. And then an example result would be this. Oops, there we go. And then here, this is YAML. All right, there we go. All right, well, that's a wrap. I hope this was instructive. It's, I guess I got like a little bit done. I have like half a React app. I have half a Charm Bracelet app. I do have a little bit of embeddings here. I do have some Claude documentation that's taking shape. And oh, and I have like this in ChatGPT, right? Like before I forget this. The fuck is that? Yeah, but that's not. Was this 04? What is going on? What is going on tonight? What are you guys playing with me that like what is going on here? Do I need to bracket your instructions? Is that what's going on here? Maybe I do. All right, let me bracket you. Let's remove all of this nonsense. Why not keep it in? So now you should be, oh my God, their UI is like, is it so hard to do? Oh, it's because I can't copy paste in this field because I don't know, it like saves it in a weird format. I hate everything. Why can't I not like copy paste this? I can copy paste it when you do this by dragging it. That works. But I copy pasting it with Control C, Control V? No. Except after you dragged it. All right. You can tell how much time I spent on this page. All right, so that's more what I wanted. So I really had to bracket it. It's like that forgetful. If it's that forgetful, will it even do like a good job? Models are confusing tonight. Oh, and we built like some pretty fun animations with Claude, huh? I guess we did. We did cover quite a bit of ground, just like a little bit fragmented as usual. But we got embeddings going, so that's good. With local Olama. Oh, is that all? Failed to generate? Like, come on. What is Claude doing? It's also amazing that they're like, I can't, like, I'm going to remove everything because why not? It's like, it's not like I received the data and could keep it. Again, I don't get it. I don't know what's going on tonight. Oh my God. I can't. Why is everything so bad? Why is everything so bad? What is going on here? It's like it got completely munched up in the copy paste. Time to go to sleep. I think the models should go to sleep too, I think. Why is this happening? Yeah, answer in chat instead, you doofus. Why is it writing Python? What is going on? What is going on? What is confusing to it in here? Like, it really isn't that complicated, huh? Turn this into one leaving nothing out in Markdown. No code, no analysis. Amazing. It's like Witching Moon. Yeah. God damn it. Why does it take so much effort? Is it because there was like a memory that said like a that I wanted to use Python? Maybe? Could be? response, content blocks, content block fields, content blocks, but it's missing some. I swear to God, there's server tool use, there's web search tool use. Oh, there's not? All because they can't have like a fucking web page that works. It's so frustrating. Streaming, where's the API link? Where's the API link? There it is. Messages, streaming, and then responses. Tool choice. Top K. Usage. Stop reason. Tool use. Response server tool use. Content ID tool use. Response web search tool result. And it's not in the document. Web search tool result. Oh, it's not, because it does need the button to be clicked, huh? Oh my God. It's like, why do they all have these like super clever JavaScript web pages and like none of them have like a proper export? It like drives me so fucking mad. It drives me so mad. Because it's literally meant for machines. Like, this is the only reason to read this shit is to feed it to a machine. It drives me so mad. Legit. Legit drives me mad. Holy cannoli. And then the fact that like it downloads a JSON that's filled with JSX that it like probably evals at runtime. Like whatever. Okay, well that is so fucking annoying. So it expanded this with all the functions, web search, and then there's like redacted thinking, right? So it's missing one here as well. And it still has this stupid Python block in here. Why does it have Python everywhere? Tool use, pause turn, refusal. I hate it so much. All right, well, another day, huh? Goodbye.